Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of Beyond Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Kristen, and today we have Tim West joining us. Tim, welcome. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
I am so excited to hear about your whole journey to becoming an entrepreneur. So I guess the first thing that I want to ask you is what led you to deciding wanting to be an entrepreneur?
So I think, of course, most people at a younger age, the word entrepreneur doesn't really mean a whole lot. You don't really hear that in your youth and stuff. I kind of grew up with a rich dad, poor dad type of scenario. We grew up kind of very middle class, which is fine. It's necessary to have a middle class also. And then my parents separated, and my mom got with a guy who was a developer or is a developer. Seeing his path and seeing his way of becoming wealthy obviously encourages me to want to have the same thing. You want to have where you can kind of have the freedom of owning a business and building your own business, but there's a lot more to it than just waking up one day and saying, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I want to make a bunch of money and I want to work for myself. And it sounds a lot easier than it actually is. You'll find out at the end of the day that it's a lot harder.
At what age did you decide that this is what you wanted to do, was be your own businessman?
The first opportunity for me probably came when I was about 19 years old. We were building an RV park in Bushnell, Florida called Blueberry Hill. It's kind of a play on words. The group of people that would RV at that time, that type of age demographics, would know that song. So, of course, you find your thrill on Blueberry Hill. We had an opportunity to have the place seal coated, blacktopped. And it was actually cheaper for us to buy our own machine and do the work ourselves because it was about $21,000 to seal coat a whole park. And the machine's only $15,000. So now you have a machine also to use after that. So that was kind of my first opportunity in getting my own business running. I think I just started going door knocking on different businesses, and you're really, of course, selling yourself more than the service. But that was the first thing that made me kind of say, well, you really do make a lot of money doing that, even if it's in short spurts, and still having a full-time job.
Yeah.
To help with insurance. You have insurance because insurance is really expensive.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
How long did you do the blacktop and all that stuff for?
Probably a couple years. I did it more as in between my full-time job. So it was a weekend type of thing. I did one job, I remember that sticks out in my mind that it was a learning lesson for me. I did it for the Seco, which is an electric company down south. And I remember, I was like, oh, I don't have to claim this one on my taxes. This was a big learning curve for me, of course. I would recommend people starting their own business, definitely claim stuff on your taxes. Because about 5 years later, they came back and said, hey, you didn't pay that. Oh, by the way, your interest now is going to be this much money. So I ended up, all my income taxes, my refund, I didn't get one that year, and I had to pay a little extra. So lesson learned there.
Well, wow. Did the Blueberry Hill, was that your inspiration for starting your own RV park? Or?
Absolutely. So there's, of course, a lot of family involved with this. So an RV park of that size, Strawberry Fields, the one that we built more recently, takes about 7 to build. So you need investors, plural. Having the original design, we kind of did mimic a lot of the same stuff we did at that park because it worked.
Yeah.
And of course, nowadays with new health codes, the size of the lots have to be bigger. Your retention takes about a fifth of your property, and there's a lot of red tape today that has to be done that didn't have to be done 20 years ago. So your cost of building, where it could have been 2 or 3 million back then, has doubled. And the time to do it, because a lot of these different government agencies like the Federal Wildlife Commission, stuff like that, they have you have to remove all your gopher turtles, which cost Strawberry Fields. It cost us about $68,000, and they don't give you an award, and they don't say, hey, thanks, man, we appreciate that, thanks for saving all them turtles. They relocate them, of course, but you have to pay to have all that done, and it takes months. You have to get somebody to come out there and check almost 60 acres of property, which is all wooded at the time, going there with a backhoe, and they have to carefully remove each one. They relocate them and stuff, but stuff like that is stuff you have to deal with the starting. But getting funding for a project like that is very difficult. In fact, we kind of do it in phases.
Yeah, I was about to ask, what is even like the first step of finding investors? Like how do you even do that?
Fortunately for me, I can kind of ride on my stepfather's tailcoat as far as what banks we can use. Him and as an investor, I'm a lot of sweat equity in the first part of that project. You know, there's a lot of investing you pull out of your own pocket, but
Yeah.
of course, you first have to go find the property. You know, that's a whole nother task in itself. Now you have to get it rezoned. In building brick and mortar types of business, especially like RV parks that have kind of a stigma, people think trailer park, stuff like that. We're a resort, you know, we have rules 10 years or older or newer, you know, your RV has to be age limits and dog limits and all that stuff. You think you think that people are going to be excited that you're bringing a new service to their town, especially an RV park booms the economy.
Yeah.
The business owners around here love us.
Yeah.
But if you already live here and you don't have you know, you're retired, you don't want the traffic. You know, people complain about the Northerners all the time. I love them. A lot of those people are really great people.
Very
They're
sweet.
just like anybody else. They just want to get out of the cold weather for a couple months out of the year.
Enjoy some paradise.
But boy, it's a fight. Your neighbors are threatening to kill you over removing trees and stuff like that.
Wow. When did Strawberry Fields open? When was it like?
We opened on Pi Day in 2018.
Okay.
Make sure I got my days correct.
It's been a little bit of a minute now.
Yeah.
When that first opened, were you the only employee? Did you hire on? How did that process work for you?
Great question. So we actually designed the parks in such a way that it can be ran as minimal as possible. My wife and I were the only employees in the entire park.
Wow.
So 436 spots, which fortunately we phased it, so it wasn't like that right away. We worked. I worked over 4 years solid, no days off. I had a hernia surgery. I worked that morning before the surgery, and the next day when I was able to get out of bed, I did my phone call stuff. But you're never off when you own a business, anyways.
I mean, recently you had your wisdom teeth removed, and the day of the surgery, you were cleaning the pool.
You did see that, yeah.
I did.
Yeah, and then I got a dry socket from that, and you know, you should kind of take it easy the first couple of days.
Yeah, I was so shocked because I was playing pickleball. There's a beautiful pickleball court at Strawberry Fields, and someone said, "Hey, I think that's Tim." I was like, "No, he just had surgery today. There's no way." Well, lo and behold, I turn around and he's cleaning the pool behind the court. So when you say no days off, you really mean it.
Yeah. So the 4 years went by. It goes by pretty quick. You're literally in the trenches putting in water and electric. There's a lot of stuff that has to be done. You have to talk with, you know, all the contractors. I'll tell you, that's a headache. I don't have enough time to complain about that type of stuff.
Would you say that's probably been like your biggest struggle with the with Strawberry Fields?
A large part of it. Dealing with local government can be very difficult. The city of Chiefland only allows you to have they only allot you 2 days, half days to get inspections done. So, for instance, you pour your concrete, you know, they're like, okay, they have to come out and inspect that before the next guy comes in, say the water guy, and does his water, or vice versa. And if there is something wrong, which God forbid there is, now the entire rest of the crew that had you on their schedule for putting up walls or brick and mortar stuff, now they put you off another week and go do another job because they have to make money. So it puts you off a lot. One mistake can put you off. So it was very crucial that I was there every day to say, this has to be done. And in addition to already having their own managers for each project. So it's, working with contractors was an absolute nightmare.
That does not sound too enjoyable, but definitely worth it. In the end result, you have an incredible business that thrives in Chiefland.
Yeah, I'd say we do pretty well.
It's great. Do you do all the marketing then too? You or your wife are the sole ones for marketing. I know you guys have the Google page and such. Do you market at all, or do you just kind of rely on local community and word of mouth?
So you hit the nail on the head with that. We did a little bit of Facebook stuff because it's very affordable. You can kind of pick the demographics in the state of Florida. During the winter time, I'd say let's hit all these people. So hopefully our Facebook page, and you want to catch them with the first shot. What's the cost? What's their amenity wise? But what's most important to us, which was what keeps us a unique park in the family owned and operated type of sense, is word of mouth. You have to have it, and so we'd park our customers, we'd make sure stuff is working. If you need anything, our phone's there 24 hours a day. Just being really pleasant with the people and having a smile on your face, and even if something's wrong, just make sure that they know that you're going to take care of it right away.
Yeah, I love that. And from the Strawberry Fields RV Park, now you're on a new venture of designing a laundromat. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? I know it's still very much in the works. I know it sounds like it's been a little bit of a struggle.
2 years into it. Even with the financing available, the cost to build is so expensive that, I don't think that Chiefland people would want to pay that much per load of laundry. To give you an idea, kind of the starting process, we had to acquire that property. You have to clear it. And luckily it was residential when we got it, so we could kind of clear the trees off without having to replace them, because there's requirements to that too. No gopher turtles, thank God. So I saved a bunch of money there. Then, of course, clearing it, you got to get your surveys. You have to core the ground before you can put in retention ponds and buildings, which is about $8,000. And then probably the biggest expense, which to us is the most nonsensical, is impact fees. Now, of course, a lot of cities do it, and that's kind of their push. But, the per washer impact fee in Chiefland is $1,800. And, when you're talking 40 washers, you're talking, 68,000. I mean, plus you have fire and ambulance and police impact fees, and each toilet hits you with an impact fee too, and then the cost to put the building up because of the intricate system of laundromats with the water and the sewer and the electric and your propane, the building cost, the engineering part of it is about $24,000 just for the building, and then the cost to build the building came to 1.4, and then the cost for the civil work. Now they have to dig the retention ponds, they do the asphalt, they put the underground utilities. Just the blueprints for that's about $36,000, and then the cost to do that work was around $500,000.
So I think a lot of the times when people think of an entrepreneur, they think of it as this, oh wow, it is this easy thing to do. I wake up, I want to start a business, and there it goes.
Sounds lovely.
It's a lot harder, and it's a lot more glamorized than it is. However, if you could, would you take anything back that you've done with starting the business? Would you have gone a different route?
It's really hard to say. Of course, you wouldn't spend all that type of money without saying for sure that you're able to do it. The cost to build something like that would only cost, like originally we were going to do a laundromat and a car wash, and then we were going to do storage. To do a laundromat plaza, which would have 2 extra units, and the car wash would only run you, in 2006, it was about 1.3 to build that car wash and laundromat, not including equipment. Nowadays, you can't build the building for the laundromat for less than that. So obviously, if I could change anything, I wish I didn't invest in it at all, because now I have a piece of property that is too expensive to build on. We haven't given up. I've been in contact with a guy in Trenton where they don't do impact fees, who owns a building that's a strip mall type of deal. It has a perfect open vacant part of it for a laundromat, and it has 2 other units there that are already have tenants, so you already have an income right away. And you're saving like $1 million and the cost to build, the time to build, because the project of the laundromat across the street from us would have taken at least a year to build, and that all that money that we're talking about is just going out the door, and people are still coming to you and saying, hey, can you help donate money for this? I'm like, I'm in debt. $3 million would be what the total debt would be for something like that. So
it's a gamble. It's definitely, taking risk. Would you say that this was probably one of the biggest risks that you have taken, or have there been other things, like maybe when you were younger, the things that seemed really scary but they worked out, or maybe they didn't work out?
No, definitely the largest risk that I've taken.
Yeah.
'Cause, it's part of making money, just like if you were gambling with anything else. Of course, we don't believe in gambling in the stock market. You know, we consider gambling, but invest in yourself. Really, at the end of the day, start off with small businesses. You know, we started. You know, we owned our home eventually, and then we own this property, and you have a little bit of money coming in from those, and you have some assets that the bank can see as basically collateral
Yeah.
for the next business that you do. So you still have to start off somewhere because nobody's going to say, oh, here's X amount of dollars, go build a new brick and mortar business. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless that person's known you their whole life and is a moron.
Yeah.
Because I'm not just going to give somebody $10, you know, if I think they're going to blow it out the door.
Yep. You mentioned earlier that your stepdad was a big, that you followed in his footsteps in a lot of way. So would you say networking is a really big key factor if you want to be an entrepreneur, to have good connections with people, to be in your community?
By far, he's the biggest mentor I've ever had. My stepfather is a very smart person. He is considered a genius. He's got where he can use both sides of his brains for whatever.
Oh.
And he's, you know, him and I did not get along very well growing up. In fact, I would say he was kind of a butthead, you know, to cut my words nicely. But he's taken a large chance on me, and I've shown him in the more recent years of our life that I'm worthy of that. So you still have to, you know, show your worth to somebody, and he wouldn't
Absolutely.
have done that if I didn't show that I'm got my head on right, you know.
Yeah.
Not a total moron.
Is there anything key, like any thing that you learned from owning and building the RV park that you are trying to apply to the laundromat? I know it's a completely different situation, and this one definitely seems to have a bit more struggles than the RV park, but is there anything that keeps motivating you from the success of the RV park to continue to keep trying to build the laundromat?
Absolutely. So the RV park has its own laundromat in there.
Yeah.
There's only 12 washers, 12 dryers, but in a normal seasonal month, we're, you know, for how small it is, it makes about 10 grand anyways a month. So having already ran that, already knowing how to fix machines for the most part, understanding that industry a little bit, I would say that's what helps motivate me to build another one, because Chiefland only has one laundromat in it that people would prefer not to use, to you know, just say that. But the next closest one I think is in Old Town. So I think with the way Trenton's growing and kind of growing towards Gainesville, and just the city's, Trenton's population is only a little bit less than Chiefland, but knowing the people that I know here, even from the RV park, going there, possibly using it, because you can't wash a comforter in your own home washer in a lot of cases. So we're pretty confident it's going to work out really well.
That's
so
awesome.
We're just waiting on the last investor, which is basically the building owner. You know, he's trying to make sure he doesn't get hit real hard on taxes, because that happens when you sell.
Yep.
So we're trying to figure out, so it'll look like it sold for X amount.
Yeah. To our younger audience out there, people, inspiring entrepreneurs that don't know where to really start, what would be your advice for them on a good stepping stone to get their foot in the door?
Okay. Lovely question. So you really, in my opinion, it's kind of like having an internship. If you can find somebody like me, or, you know, like this business, that you'd be willing to volunteer your time to, you know, it's learning for free. I mean, and not like I don't have to pay you nothing, but, you know, we're both doing a service for each other. It sounds horrible, like, oh, I don't want to go work for somebody, then don't. But the free, I will tell you everything about the business that I know, and anything that I've ever dealt with the city or the health department or the county or the state. You have all these different jurisdictions that you have to deal with whenever it comes to building a brick and mortar business. Now, if you just want to do something, you want to cut hair for a living, that everybody needs that too. So it's a great idea. The thing with laundromats is, statistically speaking, they're the most likely to succeed. I think percentage is
Oh.
about 92 or 95%.
Oh, wow, I
so
did not
everybody
know
needs their
that.
clothes washed.
Yeah.
I hope they wash them.
Yeah, I hope so.
Even if I'm going to rewear this shirt tomorrow,
Yeah.
I definitely got to do my underwears and my socks. So
Yep.
I'm just saying.
Key factors for
crucial.
sure.
Yeah.
Gotta wash the clothes.
Yeah, just the underwear. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that's why Laundromat is very crucial to me. I think that's a great business model. I think we really have a great thing going on. As far as investors, we have our money, we have this money, we have the building money, and we also have the people who own the laundromat equipment, because that equipment, if you buy brand new equipment, I think our first, which wasn't included in my numbers earlier of the laundromat across the street from us, it was like $720,000.
Oh, wow.
For 28 washers and 28 dryers.
Yeah.
So you have to come up with a lot. You have to come up with a percentage of that too.
Yes.
And then they're kind of an investment technically also.
Yeah.
So, but if you're going to build something like doing hair or nails or something like that, I think, again, that's stuff that we all need.
Yeah.
But, that's a good way to get started. And then buy a building and own it yourself, and, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's very useful. I know that being in your 20s or even like coming out of high school, that whole, oh, what do you want to do with your life? It can be really intimidating. And I know a lot of times, like when you are younger and in your 20s, you want to go back and forth, and you may have all these ideas, but actually following through with one of them can be very scary and intimidating to especially the younger eye. So
Thank you.
I think that what you said of just going in interning, giving your free time to learn is very useful. I know my stepdad is also an entrepreneur as well. So watching him grow multiple businesses has given me a lot of confidence in if I wanted to do something like that one day, I could. So I think that being able to watch somebody through it and being able to ask someone that's experienced like you is helpful, not only to walk through the steps, because it's not, as you mentioned, it's not just, I want to build a laundromat next year, next thing you know, it's built. There's a lot more put into it.
Yeah.
But to have someone to grow through and watch is really valuable and important when you want to be your own business owner one day.
Having that person to fall back to on if you have any questions.
Exactly.
That's really a large thing. My dad is I call him my dad, my stepfather, but he's been more of a father figure to me than my real father. He'll never watch. He calls me twice a year type of thing, so I'm not worried about that. But I love them both. But having that mentorship in my life is crucial to even be where I am right now. And I still, I would consider myself young, and especially when you're in an RV park where the demographics are 55 and older. Everybody's like, oh, you're still a young buck. I have kids older than you. I'm like, yeah. So.
Do you still feel like you have a lot to learn from and a lot to grow from?
You'll never stop learning, and the world will never stop changing.
Mm-hmm.
What makes a great RV park 30 years ago is completely different now, and the cost to build, and you have to pass that money on to your customer.
Yeah.
People are like, tax the rich and tax them and tax the businesses. Well, you can't make us charge a certain amount of rent, so it's a hidden tax. The middle class, or the people that buy those services from you, are still paying that money. You're not paying it. We just have to pass it on. So there's a lot of stuff to understand with the economy and everything, but you'll never stop learning, and things will never stop changing, and you got to kind of go with the industry too, because it will change. It's become RV parks is more like affordable living. In fact, around Chiefland, I don't know that if you look up right now, I bet you can't find a place to rent for less than $1,600 a month in Chiefland. I guarantee you can't.
It's
charge
gone insane.
$400 a month. You pay your electric, water's included, sewer's included, your trash is included. You don't have to mow your yard. You have the security of us living on site. The police come through often. We don't allow domestic disputes in our park. We don't allow, people aren't out there shooting or selling drugs and stuff like that. If there's even a hint of it, that person will be on notice pretty quick. That being said, you can't find a place for $400 a month. Even
Yeah.
if you have to buy an RV and pay $300 or $400 or $500 a month, you still can't get that and have the amenities that we have. We have an on-site laundry. We have an on-site bathhouse, which is individual restrooms. We have pickleball courts, which is my favorite thing. Hot tub, heated pool. I mean, it's a resort you get to live at for $400 a month. You really can't beat that.
So even over time, the economy has kind of helped you in a way, almost.
Absolutely.
And so it's just after the years are going by, it continues to bring more profit and revenue for your company.
Yeah, so there's somebody that you've worked for recently, and they've been working on a project to build housing in Chiefland, and the city won't work with them on stuff like sewer and the cost to build a home, and the city's like, pay me those impact fees, just pay the taxes, pay this and that, and buy the property, and it's so expensive for them to build.
Yeah.
They likely won't, and now fortunately for us, we're already built. People that even live in Chiefland now, I met a lady the other day. She's just selling her home. The deal's already there, just they haven't closed yet. She's gonna buy an RV and she wants to come stay.
Yeah.
And she can still be here, and again, all the advantages of being in an RV park. The biggest disadvantage is probably that RVs are kind of shallow walled. So, but we also have quiet hours and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
cost wise, nothing competes.
Yeah. So being realistic with what you want to do with your business, I think, is also very important then, and taking in accountability to what the economy is currently, if someone's wanting to start a business, is also important. And I think a lot of young entrepreneurs out there, learning from successful entrepreneurs and business owners, it's definitely key, because I wouldn't have even thought about that until you started talking about it.
Gopher turtles.
Gopher turtles.
I mean, come on.
Gotta get rid of the
They're
gopher
not
turtles.
endangered. They're just protected.
Yeah.
And God bless them. I don't want to hurt any of them, but that's a large expense.
Yeah.
$70,000 is, for us in the RV park industry, you can have work campers, like we call them.
Uh-huh.
You could have that would have paid for a work camper for 8 years.
Yeah.
An employee. Instead, we build the park where 2 people can run the whole thing. But getting off track a little bit, but the stuff that people don't know up front, like, oh, you're tearing down all those trees. They get upset. The locals do, and I understand. Trust me, I know people feel entitlement and they feel an ownership to their city, and they should. Chiefland's a really great place, and people here have been amazing. And the few people that don't like it, I understand. I feel for you, and I apologize, but I hope that you can see the good that we're bringing to the community, because we do donate. There's stuff like the pregnancy center sign that's up. That cost $6,000 for us to put up. We did that for the basically for the church and the pregnancy center, and there's other stuff, of course. But for an example, something that you might see every day driving through Chiefland, not just Strawberry Fields or any other business, any business in Chiefland, that's who pays the taxes more than the homeowners, because they have all the exemptions. About 75% in Chiefland of the tax income and millage comes from business owners. So I would encourage allowing a little bit of growth. We don't want a big city either. Even somebody like me saying that, I like it slower and not having the traffic and the theft and all the other stuff that comes with growing. But I think that, if people gave RVers a chance, they'll see that these are people with money. They come, they're not thieves, they're not running around stealing stuff. They're just here to relax and kind of basically be retired.
Enjoy Florida.
Enjoy this beautiful
It's
town
beautiful.
too.
It's beautiful,
It's
and
really
I agree.
lovely
It's
here.
very home vibes, very community focused as well, which I love. And I think that Strawberry Fields is also a big hot spot for that really community vibe. I know you host
Sure.
a lot of events there as well. You
Yeah,
just
good
had
time.
a little concert there with
It's
some
amazing.
musicians.
Yeah, some people that work in town, actually. Some people work at our local fitness center here.
Yeah.
That's how I met the lady, but they are amazing. They usually go down to the villages and play for multiple, thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Because we're local, they give us a little bit more of a break on it, and we do allow the community to come in and also enjoy that, for a small fee, $10, I think it is. But it's a great time. And
Awesome.
I'm glad that we're able to share that part, at least with the
Yeah.
community too. So
Yeah, that's incredible.
yeah, 6-year anniversary.
That's
So,
that's so exciting. Well, I cannot wait for your laundromat venture, and hopefully these last hurdles
too.
get through quickly.
It's one phone call. I've been looking at my watch constantly, hoping the guy is calling me, and because he's like, we're close on the numbers. And even if he comes back, you know, I hope he doesn't see this. Even if he comes back with what he originally wanted, we're able to do that. So
Yeah.
but he does have some other interest in the building, so we're hoping that we're at the top of the list. And he seems like the type of person that wants to help young entrepreneurs such as myself. I'm still new. I'm still new. That's why all this stuff is kind of fresh for me and frustrating, you know.
Understandable.
A lot of the frustrating part of it, but there's always a big picture, and that's where you keep your eye on, and just know that, you know, save your money, hold on to your money. I would say invest your money. Actually, you don't want to just put the money in the bank because it's not doing anything in there. It's just sitting there, losing value because of inflation. You want to invest it in stuff that's going to increase in value, like property or whatever, a home, even if you're going to rent it out. But hopefully, this guy can come along and I get that phone call. This business we're calling Open to Close, meaning open to clothing, clothes.
Love it.
It was as original as I could find online without using somebody else's name. There was really great names I came up with that, like, oh, that's taken, like Clothes Encounters was a great one. I was like, oh, somebody did that in Georgia, I think, and some other ones. But Open to Close I thought was an appropriate name.
I love it.
We'll start off
Very
just
witty.
doing, thank you. We'll start off just doing the machines first, and then we'll expand to doing a wash, dry, fold there.
Well, I'm very excited to see it, and I appreciate your time here today. Thank you so much for
Thanks for
coming
having me on.
and sharing your knowledge and advice for those at home who may want to start their own business. And with that being said, that is episode 1 of Beyond Entrepreneur. I'm Kristen, and we will see you next week with episode 2.